Why isn't my music playing? Says it's playing. Let's see if that fixed it. All right, there we go. It's super quiet. Yeah, next week for sure. Next week. Yeah, this is a non-TI 5060. This is a streaming PC, so you really don't need anything more than like a 5060 to handle your stream. Encoding doesn't take up that much work of your GPU. Alrighty. I think we are live everywhere and we are good to go. How's everybody doing today? Open this guy up real quick. Normally I have this stuff all set up nice, but apparently I forgot to do that. Get our nice CPU out here. Alrighty. Trying to find a CPU for your 5060 Ti. Not sure what to pair with it. Do you have, are you on like AMD platform or? This is gonna be a streaming only rig. So we'll have, yeah, it'll have a capture card in it eventually. We don't have it here right now. But yeah, it'll have a capture card in it. And then we're also building this guy a gaming PC too. So he'll have a dual PC setup right from the get-go. But yeah, Domination, do you already have like a motherboard or something? So you're like locked into a certain style of or brand of CPU, or what's the deal there? Okay, so let's talk about this build real quick before we get started. So we've got a Ryzen 7 7700. So great CPU. It's going to be, you know, kind of low power usage. It's got 8 cores, 16 threads. So it should be able to run everything you need in a stream PC. We've got 32 gigs of RAM, also more than enough for streaming. 1 terabyte main SSD, 2 terabytes secondary. We've got the 5060. We're going to have a 4K capture card going in it later. 240 millimeter AIO. Got the ASUS TUF X870 Plus Wi-Fi, and then a 750 watt power supply. This is all going inside of the Montech XR PC case. What up? How we doing, Lone Star? I'm thinking about AMD. It's going to get a 9800X 3D, but have been told it's dumb for picking it. Yeah, it's kind of overkill for having a 5060 Ti. I would say like the 96. If you're just gaming on it, if you're not streaming on it, I would say like the 9600X is a really good one. You could even go as low, like for like price's sake, like you could even go as low as like the 7500F. But I think the 9600X would be a solid one. If you are streaming on it, maybe you go up to like the 9700X. The extra cores will definitely make a difference running all the extra stuff that's running when you're streaming. But yeah, I don't think you need to spend on a 9800X 3D. You're gonna do both game and stream. Yeah, then I would say like a 9700X. You could even jump all the way up to like a 9900X, which is still like $100 or so cheaper than the 9800X 3D, and then you'll have 12 cores. Like, yeah, that's like more than enough. That's like if you really wanted to spend extra money, but the 9700X should be enough. What up, Mason? How we doing? Mr. Rainbow, welcome in. All right, so that's the build for today. Let's get started. We actually got started like basically on time today, which is pretty cool. Lately, it's like been 5 o'clock before I even get going, so I'm excited to be getting this done on a more timely fashion so I can get home earlier, you know? All right, boom, camera changed. My stream PC is starting to blue screen intermittently. Someone may need to build me a new one. Ooh, let's go. Yeah, blue screening. I mean, it could just be like Windows, but it really depends on what kind of code you're getting on the blue screen. You could check out your event viewer and see what it says, like what's causing it. Because sometimes it could just be like Windows got corrupted and you could just like reinstall Windows and be good. But you know, I mean, I'm not gonna turn down a new PC. I just don't want you to have to, you know, spend money unnecessarily, even if it means money in my pocket, you know? What up, Dialafruz? I'm sure I butchered that name, but I did my best. Callum, thank you for the likes. Appreciate that. How we doing? Think about future-proofing the PC. Yeah, then I would say like the 9900X would be a really good one for future-proofing it. 12 cores is gonna be a lot, and you'll be on AM5, the AM5 like socket and platform. So you'll have, you know, more upgrade paths down the road if you need to. So I gotta turn my heater off. As soon as I feel like I sit all day and I get cold, and then the moment I start building, I'm like, oh, I'm warm. The motherboard looks tough. Get out of here. Get out of here. With your puns. What up, Lunar? 7700 XT or use 3080. Ooh. I think the 3080 might beat out the 7700 XT. Gosh. It's hard to say. 7700 XT is a slightly newer platform. I think the 3080 time-wise would be in line with the 6000 series, give or take. So the 7700 XT might not be bad. Woo! That was a big one. Let's be real. Whenever I sneeze, it's always very loud, so sorry. What up, NMT? We are building a stream PC today. Thank you. Yeah, so we're building a sweet little stream PC today. Thought I saw a little piece of dust on there. So we're actually building this guy a stream PC and a gaming PC. So we'll be building his gaming PC probably later this week, maybe this weekend. We'll see how the timing works out. So he's gonna have this system, which has a 7700X and a 5060 and a capture card. And then let me remember what he's in his other one. So his other one has a 9800X 3D and a 5080. So he's gonna have a pretty baller setup. All right, 7700X, done, in. Let's get our 1 terabyte in here. Yeah, maybe don't grab it by the blade, Red, jeez. All over the place right now. Around the same price. 3080 has better ray tracing performance. Yeah, but like, who uses ray tracing? I don't game with ray tracing on, but granted, I only really play Warzone when I play, so what do I know? Haven't been fast enough to catch the error when it happens. Yeah, just type in like the search window, Windows Event Viewer. It might take a little bit for you to like get familiar with it enough to figure out where to look. But if it's causing a blue screen, it should show up in either the critical or the error like section. So you could filter by that and then see what's going on. It's not gonna like tell you outright like what's wrong. It's gonna give you some code and then you're gonna have to do a bunch of Google searching and then figure it out. Got a 14700K. Is idle temp around 30 good? Yes, 30 is very good. Most CPUs you will see idle temps in the 30 to like mid 40 range, depending on what the CPU is. So yeah, 30 is great. It means you have a good cooler, you got good cooling in your system. And I'm not surprised to see the 70 to 80 if you're doing like a full like Cinebench type test, because those Intel CPUs can put out a lot of heat because they've got so many cores. So I'm not surprised by that at all. Came from an i5 8th gen, so that is a huge jump, man. Are you liking the new CPU though? How do I get in contact with you for building my PC, and do you have a set price? So if you go to my website, redneckengineer.com, spelled the exact same way as you see on the screen. There might even be a tile for it on my on my Kick page, but you can go and either like look at some of the pre-configured builds, or you can fill out the custom build form, and that will basically send an order to me for me to send you a quote based on what you're looking for. So that's the best way to go about it. Or you can be like Lone Star and show up at Loot Fest and be like, hey, build me a PC today, and I won't be able to say no. So there is that. It is always an option, but Loot Fest is not till February, so you might want to do it sooner than that. Milwaukee or DeWalt? This is a Linus Tech Tips, lttstore.com. Is it this way? I think it went that way. Cool. So let's get that one off. Was worth every dollar? I agree. That was a sick PC we built for you. It's great, but starting to wonder if I should have gone AM5. I mean, I prefer AM5, but the 14th gen Intel is still pretty solid, so I think you'll be okay. I think you'll still be happy with it. How long before PC graphics are indistinguishable from real life? Honestly, I think it's going to be a long time, unless we're all playing like games that are being generated on the cloud or something, and your computer is basically just downloading it. It takes a lot of graphic power to, you know, even do what we're doing today, which is not super close to real life. So I don't know. At some point, it's just going to be so expensive and so like power hungry that I don't know how soon we'll be able to get there. What up, Alicia? Yes. So you basically you send in the build quote, or the build form, like, which is basically a request for a quote. I will send you the quote. You know, we may go back and forth and change a few things. Once you agree to it, I'll send you a link to be able to pay for it. Once you pay for it, I order the parts, I build the PC, put Windows on it, update all the drivers, update the BIOS, all that good stuff, test it, and then I ship it to you, and it's basically ready for you to start downloading games or whatever you're going to put on it. So that's the general process for it. Intel or AMD for game development? I don't know anything about game development. For gaming, I would always say AMD. If game development takes a lot of, you know, cores and stuff, Intel might be the way to go if you want to stay, you know, not spend as much money. But like the 9950X, honestly, has 16 cores, 16 full performance cores with 32 threads. So, you know, if you want to go high end, AMD might also be really good. But again, I don't know much about game development. Yeah, if you already have some stuff in hand, you can totally ship it to me. That's not a problem at all. Sorry, I didn't read the end of your message. But yeah, if you have some of it already in hand, you can totally ship that to me, and then, you know, obviously I'll factor that stuff out of the cost when I quote it. Okay, 32 gigs of RAM, 3 terabytes of storage. We've got our 7700 in there. Let's get our AIO bracket out here so we can install that real quick. I'm doing good, Casper. My day went pretty well. We've actually got some family visiting this week. My wife's brother is here with his family, so should be able to have some fun this week. Although I'm pretty busy this week, so hopefully I'll be able to hang out a bit. Currently got a RTX 3070. you could run pretty much any GPU with that. I would say, like, if you're looking to upgrade, it probably wouldn't be worth it if you get anything less than like a 5070 or 5070 Ti. So that would probably be the price range I would look at. So you got like 5070, 5070 Ti, 9070 XT, 9070. Like those would all be pretty solid options based on, you know, what your system has today. I think that should be everything we need here. For now. We'll need the rest of that cooler eventually, but not right now. Is the Core i5-3340S any good in 2025? No. It's very old. I mean, I'm sure it still works, but like, it's very, very old. What GPU should go with the 7600X? I mean, you can pretty much do anything. Like, you can go as low as like a, you know, 4060, 5060, or all the way up to like, I probably wouldn't put anything more than like a 5070 Ti or like a 9070 XT in there, just because at some point the CPU is probably going to bottleneck it. But yeah, I don't think you would be unhappy with performance for any of those GPUs. Kind of just depends on, you know, what else is in your system, like what size power supply do you have, you know, what motherboard do you have, and well, I guess if you have a 7600X, your motherboard should be able to handle most stuff, and it's going to be on DDR5. Power supply could be a big question mark if you don't want to upgrade it. Best single core for game development? I don't know anything about game development. I mean, nobody's buying CPUs with single cores for game development. Single core performance, I think Intel still has, or sorry, I think AMD has the best single core performance right now, but it's hard to say. How come truly crya? I have no idea what that means. Opinions on the 14900K paired with the 5080? Yeah, it should be great. I mean, here's the thing. When we say AMD is better than Intel, like on the newest stuff and on the best stuff, sure. The 14900K is still an absolute powerhouse of a CPU. It's still a very, very good gaming CPU. But when you're looking at like absolute best top performance, the AMD beats it out a bit. But like the 14900K is still an incredible CPU. So you could pair that with basically any GPU today and it will do just fine. Picking up my new pit bike so I can ride in the forest and not pay $13K for a full cross bike. Sheesh, $13K is a lot of money. I mean, I know motorcycles are expensive, but. Okay. Shouldn't need any of this stuff. So let's put that all back in the bag, box. Throw that in there. Okay, so got all that in here. That is everything we need on this motherboard for now. So let's get our case out here. The Montech XR coming in at a whopping like $63. It's a very budget-friendly case, but it's very nice. There we go. Stupid stickers. I mean, I understand why they put them on there, but it's kind of annoying. Okay. Wow, those are not thumb tight. Jeez. Yeah, I think AMD is still the best right now on single core performance, but again, I don't know anything about gaming development. Let's be honest. I'm a mechanical engineer, not a software engineer, sorry. Opinions on the 12100F. I mean, you'll probably be able to play most games with that still. The 12100F is really rough though. Like 4 cores is barely enough to even like run Windows these days. Windows is such a hog. I would say ideally you want at least 6 cores for gaming. Okay, motherboard going in. Oh wait, hold on. There we go. For those of you watching on the horizontal stream. Come on. Does it actually have like a pop-in feature on that one or no? Not really. Okay, those are pretty well lined up. As my 8th gen was a pre-built. Ah, gotcha. Those darn pre-builds. I have plenty of things to say about some of the pre-builds I see. I have some friends that are like overseas and stuff, and so obviously, you know, I could ship them PCs, but it gets really expensive fast. And so this one guy was showing me a system and I was like, bro, you're gonna have to replace half the things in here to have it be the performance you want. But apparently that pre-built he was looking at is basically the same price as what it costs to buy the GPU that's in it in Australia. So I was like, wow, okay, I guess buy it. What up, Richard? For a new KTM Cross, they start at 9K, but it's only 250 when I have a 450. 450. Wow, that's a big jump to go from a 250 to a 450. I mean, it makes sense. Like, I'm sure there's a lot in there. But still. Oof. PC cage name? What? Oh, the case? Montec XR. You can type in exclamation point specs too if that's working. And that'll give you the full parts list for this system. I assume you meant case name. So apparently SteamOS runs games better than Windows. Yeah, I don't know anyone running SteamOS on anything other than a mobile system though. And I think you're kind of locked into Steam at that point. I don't know if SteamOS runs games with other launchers. It's like if you're trying to play something on Epic Games, I honestly don't know. It might. I don't know very much about SteamOS, but you might get locked into Steam for all I know. Does anyone know the answer to that? And then special instructions. Yeah, if there's a specific one that you want to have, like if there's anything very specific that you want, yeah, just write it in there. That way I can know what that is ahead of time when I do the initial quote. Come on. Come on, there it is. Okay. Okay, we need to get our other screwdriver out to do that last bolt. My LTT screwdriver is just a little too thick. Putting together a $500 PC, 5500, 5700 XT, 32 gigs at 32. For 500 bucks, that's a great little system. That's pretty much what I would be putting in it. Yeah. Personally, I wouldn't be able to build that for somebody else for 500 bucks. So that's a great little system. Armor crate is not necessary to have. If you can use other programs to like run your RGB, like Signal RGB. And since they've switched to the ASUS driver hub, you don't even need Armory Crate for updating your drivers anymore. So personally, I don't think there's really much of a reason to even have Armory Crate these days. Okay, goodbye. Okay. Lazy Susan. Now. Yeah, no problem. What up, Kiramex? How we doing? Just bought a B840 Eagle. Was it a good purchase? B840. I mean, if you're on a really tight budget and the entire PC is like very budget friendly, then yeah, that's a solid. It's not a bad choice. I personally would have chosen like a B650 because the B840 is AMD, right? I personally probably would have gone with like a B650 or B850, but I don't know enough about the features of those B840s because I haven't used them at all. All right, HD audio done. Front panel connector, a single connector unlike the 7000D we did the other day. Thank you, Montec. It's very thoughtful of you. Ooh, that's a tight fit on that. Usually those connectors are a little more loosey-goosey. Okay. Where is our USB 3? It's right up there, right next to our USB-C connector. In my country, B840 is the best budget AM5. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the cheapest here, too. What up, Melito? What up, Yasir? How we doing? Does vertically mounting the GPU affect performance? It can. So, depending on the size of the case, if your GPU ends up too close to the side panel, it's not going to get very good airflow. So that's one way you can affect the performance. The other way is if you are using, you have to use a Gen 5 riser if you're using one of the newer like 50 series or 9070X, like 9070 GPUs, because most of the risers on the market today are Gen 4, so they can't handle Gen 5 speeds. So you would have to use a Gen 5 riser to be able to vertically mount your GPU. So those are the two things to consider if you want to try to vertically mount your GPU. Okay, well, let's get our fans connected here. Oh, I was really hoping for more length out of that. I think what I did last time in this case was I actually just ran these guys up to the top instead of trying to make it reach all the way to the bottom. So we definitely have at least one RGB header up here, yeah. So I think what we'll do is we'll run this guy here, and then if we need to run a separate RGB header from, or cable from the AIO, we can run it to the bottom. We can also daisy chain the RGB for the AIO right into this one if there's an extra spot. There is, so we'll probably just do that so we're only using one port, and then we'll be golden. And then what do we have for headers up here? We do have the CPU optional up there, so we could use that for these fans too if we don't have the length, which it kind of looks like we don't. So CPU optional is on top. So these case fans are going to be in the CPU optional header, and then our AIO fans are going to be in the CPU fan header, and then we've got an AIO pump header there. Okay, so this stuff is all connected in now. We can kind of do some rough cable management here just to kind of get it all where we want it to be. Come on. Okay, we got that. We'll leave that nice and loose so we can fit other connectors through there. Probably gonna have to like pull all these kind of together here. I think we'll use use, we'll grab a cable tie for now for that. Like so. And these guys, after that comes through there. We'll kind of push those up against the back plate. Tighten that up a little bit like that. And then these guys, I think what I ended up doing last time was kind of folding them back on themselves. And then we'll find a good way to hold them together like that. Like so. We'll use a cable tie here so that we can add more stuff to it if we need to down the road. Come on. Why is the Velcro so good? There we go. So there we go. We got that all in a nice little bundle there. This thing will kind of do something like that with it. Okay. That is all in there and started to be cable managed. Let's get our CPU power and motherboard power and stuff out here. The case I want comes with a PCI 5 riser. Oh, perfect. There you go. Force the motherboard to run PCIe Gen 4. Yeah. Now, because rested for CPU. I can't understand what that says. Sorry. The 8GB version. Wait, what about Born Joker? The 8GB version for what? So this is just a 5060, not a 5060 Ti, so there's only the 8GB version available. For the 5060 Ti, I only use the 16 gig version. There's just no point to the 8GB version these days. You need a new CPU. Bottleneck is crazy. What CPU are you running right now, Kiramex? Yes, Swift, that is the build I'm doing right now. I update that command every stream so that people can see what we're building. As long as it updated. Yeah, it did. Yeah, so the 5060 Ti has a 16 gig version. But as far as I'm aware, they are not releasing a 16 gig version for the 5060 or a 12 gig or whatever. A Ryzen 5 2400G. Oh yeah, that is definitely going to be a bottleneck. I would look at like a 7500F since you got the B840, which is a AM5 motherboard. We shouldn't need any SATA. Just one CPU power is going to be good. There we go. We don't need the rest of these right now. $5060 Ti 16 gig RAM low profile version would slap. I think there are like at least one version. There's one like called an SFF Ready from ASUS. They're like ASUS Prime has a model for that. Okay, there's our CPU power. Go ahead and run that to the back. And that's gonna run along here like so. Let's get a couple of zip ties for that. go. Okay, we got another one there in the corner. I can use. It's just so in the corner, it's like impossible to see it. I have to get the lighting just in the right area. There we go. Okay. Okay. Let's get this guy in there. Okay. We'll do another one right there. Come on. There we go. Okay. So got that. We'll probably put one more in down here, but I want to get the power supply in before I put that in there. 7600 or 7600X. Those are good options too. The 7500F is just like the cheapest version, so you can get that from like AliExpress for like 130 bucks US. So if you're really like trying to be budget conscious, that is the cheapest way to get onto the AM5 platform. And it's still pretty solid. Okay. Don't tip on me. I'm trying to keep this grommet from getting pulled out of its spot. There we go. Got that over to the back. Let's do this cable tie here. Okay. Got another one here to put in. Like that. And then we'll probably have one more at the bottom there. That one's probably gonna have to be a zip tie just because of the orientation of it. We can do that. Kind of want a thicker zip tie than these guys. It's a little bit thicker. Yeah, we have a hole. That. Okay. Did that just break on me? Yep. Cool. Old zip ties. They haven't even been in my thing for that long, probably. 7500F is good, but in my country, no stock. AliExpress or Amazon, the tax is almost the price. Oh, really? That's surprising. What's good, Red? Hope you're doing well. I'm doing good, Zach. How are you? What up, MJ? Is Lee and Lee fans and AIOs as good as people say it is? Yeah, they do a great job. And yeah, Richard could tell you he's had Lee and Lee stuff in both of his builds for a while now. All right, there we go. So that's nice and clean. This guy we may like run kind of along there and get it up out of the way. Okay, let's get our power supply in here. Send me a 5090. No. I'm not sending you anything unless you pay for it. Do we have a non-split PCIe connector? I feel like we should. There we go. Grabbed the wrong one. Makes me so happy. I wish I had the courage. What, to build a PC? This build has a 5060, so this is a little streaming only PC. So doesn't really require much in the way of GPU power capabilities. Okay, got that. Get this guy in here. Okay. My bolts are over here. PC won't boot. Do you know what could help? Any number of things. Without having it, it's kind of hard to diagnose. It's your build: 6700, 7600X, 32 gigs of RAM, 850 watt 8+ cold power supply, 990 Evo, and a 3500X. That's a great little build, man. Coolio, I've never heard of them. What up, Andy? Good to see you, dude. Combo of 5700X and RTX 5060. Is it good enough for QHD 1440p? Not really. You can probably get away with playing some games on it at 1440p, but it's not going to be a super great gaming experience. Got a 3050, 24 gigs of RAM, Ryzen 5 3400. Keyboard well lined up, no strange CPU lights, only the normal ones. Yeah, I can't really diagnose it while I'm live. And while I don't have it in hand. Okay, got that nice and tidied up. Let's zip tie that guy right there. Okay, fine. Have it your way. There we go. Got that in there. It's all looking nice and clean. All right, let's get our CPU cooler in here before we forget about it. Just bought the 7700X with the 7900 XT. Hey, let's go. Sweet pre-installed fans, we love that. I feel like more and more AIOs are doing that, and it's very nice. What up, Hatfield? Price on this bad boy? Great question. Nobody knows. This one was $2,000. But this one has a capture card in there that's pretty expensive, couple $100. We're also going to have a laser engraved logo on it. So both of those add a few hundred. Between the two of those, we add a few $100. So if you did it without the capture card and stuff, it would be like $1,600, $1,700. Back is stiff. Why is your back stiff? Another day closer to my demise. Your back is jacked up. All right, there we go. Got all that stuff in there. Let's plug in our little header that comes for our AIO. So we won't have to try and reach that too. Okay. Bring that down, get our bolts out here. Why do I feel like that's way lower than normal? Trash can's getting full. Okay. So this guy has to go this way. Gotta get these through there. Okay, got those pulled through. Let's get this guy through here. The cap just came off. The heck? There we go, that one's through. Pull that all the way through so it doesn't fall out. Get our CPU fan through. What size fans I recommend? It's definitely based on the case. Very much dependent on what the case can hold. Most common is just like a 120 millimeter. Like that's pretty standard. All right, we're gonna put that kind of right there. Sort of in the middle. Can have access to all the holes. This is a streaming PC, so we don't need faster. We just need enough cores to be able to run all the stuff. So 9600X is better for gaming, but having more cores is better for a system like this. Would you rather use a wider dual chamber case or a regular mid-tower with front fans? I mean, it's totally down to personal preference. I really like the look of the dual chamber cases these days. I have one of each. So personal preference as far as style goes, I probably would go dual chamber today. Happy birthday, Nick. Depends on how much room you have on the desk. That also makes a difference too. There we go. that back onto here. So our radiator is installed up there. You can pull these guys a little tighter. Oh, apparently that one went around the CPU power cable somehow. I don't know how I did that. There we go. Okay, got that through there. We've got these guys all through there. All right, we can zip tie these guys here. Go. Okay, so got that. Let's get our fan cables connected in here. Okay, we got that done. Can daisy chain these two guys. And those are gonna get run to wherever the extra daisy chain header was for this guy. Down here. Okay, and I think this one will probably get used by our cooler pump. That also has RGB. Okay. I'm not gonna tighten that down anymore in case I need to run this guy back up for our cooler. All right. Now, let's get some thermal grease on here. And get a handy dandy paper towel to keep thermal grease from getting all over my fingers. It seems to happen no matter what I do. There's that. Get our little spatula out here. Pretty sure I say this every time, but the nice thing about this is like it's so easily spreadable that you can put it on there nice and thick and it just moves right out of the way if it's when it gets the pressure from the CPU cooler. So you really don't have to worry much about putting too much of this on there. Okay, got all that on there. Cleaned up our spatula. Okay, thermal grease closed up with hopefully minimal on our hands. It's pretty good. Just a tiny bit. All right, let's peel that plastic off. One thing I don't love about these Thermalright coolers is getting the second, geez, it's getting the second of these bolts started. It can be very difficult. There we go. That's definitely on there. Can I twist this enough with my fingers? Nope. There we go. We got it. Okay. That's done. Peel that plastic off. Your screwdriver almost pierced the motherboard? Nah, didn't even come close. Looking at the Havin. Oh, that's a crazy case. That is a super cool case. The turntable, I bought the like part on the bottom with the bearings and stuff on Amazon. And then the top I bought, I think it's like a cake Lazy Susan or something like that. And the top is just like a stool top or something from Home Depot. And then I painted it. So it's kind of a homemade ordeal. Okay, pull that all the way to the back, like that. And we want to split off the pump one, so we can run it back into here. Oh boy, that's gonna be fun. I was hoping I would be able to reach this better. Take this off, I can kind of see. I'm gonna take the RAM out for a second, I think. That'll give me a lot more space up there to work. There we go. Go. That's better. Is it actually on there? Yep, that's on there. Okay, so got that in there. Plug this side into our RGB. Whew. That was a little bit of work there. Gonna redo that zip tie. Okay, got that. Right, that is all in there. Let's get our RAM back in here. Can. There we go. Okay. Get our other RAM back in here. Okay. There we go. That is all in there. Now, just want to run my GPU power cable out here. Like that. What up, Rytech? There's not much of a performance difference for 120, 140 millimeter fans. So probably just whatever looks better in that sort of case. Yeah, it's called Lazy Susan. This one you can't necessarily buy directly, but you can put one together yourself like I did. i7-6950 uses 140 watts. You can use an air cooler or a 240. Yeah, that's true. You can use an air cooler or a 240 with almost any CPU these days. The 5070 Ti Is the 5070 Ti considered a 4K? I would say it's a 1440p card. If you're using, if you're using like DLSS or whatever, you can get away with it as a 4K card. Yeah, if you're using frame gen stuff, you can probably use it for 4K. All right, let's get our GPU in here. Okay, second and third slots. All right, and get our cute little 5060, the MSI Shadow. How many Xboxes can I daisy chain to get 300 FPS? Probably like 10. If only that worked. Honestly, I think the 50 series is my favorite right now. Although I do love the look. I honestly like the look of all of like the newer Founders Edition cards. But I think the 5070 or the 50 series is probably the best looking. Like I have a 3070 Founders Edition in my stream PC still, and it looks amazing. Oh, when you say CPU fans and an AIO, are you saying like a tower air cooler? Depending on what you get, there's not a super huge difference. There are like tower air coolers that can perform as well as most AIOs. AIOs just tend to have more steady temperature, and they are sometimes a little bit quieter, and they look a lot better in my opinion. Of course, there's plastic underneath there. Get out of there. Okay. There's all the plastic. Imagine if he was dyslexic and gave him a 5090 by mistake. Thankfully, I'm not dyslexic. Gonna need you to tone down the handsome, distracting from the build. I'm so sorry. I really need to just like let myself go so you guys don't get distracted by my awesomeness, huh? There we go. Not the knife. I want that. Okay. Get those guys out of the way. Get our power cable in here. Okay, there we go. Cable management's all done. Put the back plate on. which fits beautifully. No issues there. And then there we go. That's a fully built PC, ladies and gentlemen. All the stud. How much for you to manage my setup cables? Besides the flight out there, just free meals. That's all I need from you. I really wish they would release the AMD Founders Edition. They look so good. I know, but they were like the worst ones. Like in the 7000 series, the worst like thermal and other problems were all with the Founders, like whatever reference cards that AMD calls them. So it's probably a good thing they didn't. Firing up the smoker now? Bet. Imagine it, all right, I read that. I wouldn't suggest using an air cooler for anything over 150 watts when it comes to thermals. I mean, there are very beefy air coolers that can easily cool CPUs that pull more than 150 watts. I just don't think they look as good, and they're just not. They're not as consistent. Like the temperatures are not as consistent with those, in my opinion. Just feed me. Exactly. I mean, that's not the same for everybody. For Rytech though, that's all I need. Very clean, nice work. Thank you, thank you. All right, y'all. Before I fire it up, I want to see all of your favorite emojis in the chat. Okay, that's all I need from you. Favorite emojis in the chat, and then we'll fire this baby up. And we're gonna, dim the lights a little bit and get the mood set for this beautiful PC's first turn on. First power up. All right, I'm gonna give you another like 10, 15 seconds to get those emojis in. One's in chat if you think it's gonna post on the first try. Copy, love it, Mr. Rainbow. Rytech, are those eggplants, Rytech? How dare you? MJ with the W's, love it. Zach with my wife's favorite emoji there. That's probably why they don't do it now. It probably is. All right, y'all. So, the perfect streaming PC with a Ryzen 7 7700, RTX 5060, 3 terabytes of storage, 32 gigs of RAM, a 240mm AIO, the X870 Plus Wi-Fi from ASUS TUF, 750 watt power supply, and then the Montech XR first ever power on. She's pretty nice. The little Thermalright logo on there. Looks sweet. Ooh. Ah. You have that motherboard? It's a great little motherboard. Look at that. We got the white and green lights. Posted. Boom. Suck it for anyone that didn't put a 1 in chat. Very nice PC. Thank you, Mr. Rainbow. I saw it come in Domination when I checked my phone real quick. I had to respond to a text. There it is, ladies and gents. Not too shabby, huh? Not too shabby. Yeah, it was really cheap for a while. They've gotten a little bit up in price. Like I think they're like 230-ish now, 240. But they're still pretty reasonably priced for an X870 board. And they have pretty much every feature you would need. Like they've got, you know, 4 M.2 slots. They've got lots of RGB ports, lots of fan header ports, lots of USB ports. You know, they can, you know, put any AM5 CPU in there and plenty of RAM. It's got it all. I would say you have done this once or twice, or 266 times now, if we're counting. What up, Camellia? I do want to swap these guys over, though, because they're facing the wrong way. I honestly don't even like the look of these very much. There we go. Facing the right way now. Hey, thank you, Joker. If I wanted, could I order most of the parts myself so I get most of it paid for? You can. However, you're going to spend more on the parts because I can get the parts for without sales tax. So unless you're in Idaho, I don't have to charge sales tax because I haven't hit the cost threshold for each state. Because it's like a separate threshold that you have to hit in each state in order to charge sales tax in that state. So it will end up costing you more, whatever your sales tax is in your area. So keep that in mind. There is also financing available on my website. So when you would go to check out, I have Shop Pay installed and set up on my website, so you can use Shop Pay to make installments. You can also pay with PayPal, so you can go and set up a credit line on PayPal to make payments there, and then you just pay in full with your credit line from PayPal. So there's a couple of different options there to do that. Rytech with the dinosaur, thank you, sir. Do I accept Prussian francs? No. I mean, whatever Shopify accepts, I don't know. Probably. I wonder if they'd finance you. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Affirm is kind of picky, but who knows? If Affirm like ShopPay doesn't work, PayPal might be more forgiving than what's available directly on the website. All right, y'all. That is it for tonight. An hour and 20 minutes. Not too shabby for this beautiful, beautiful build. Like I said, I have family in town, so I wanted to get it done as quick as possible so I could get home and hang out with my brother-in-law and his family while they're here. So hope y'all have a great rest of your night or morning, depending on where you are in the world. And yeah, we'll see you next time. I'll be building either tomorrow or Friday. So we have another build coming up really quick. So you know, stay tuned. Make sure you're liking, subscribed, following, whatever it's called on whatever platform you're on, so you can watch the next one in just a couple days. All right, y'all. Hey, you're welcome, Born. If anybody lives near Daytona, I'm selling a brand new build. There you go. It was super fast, right, Tech? You're right. Yeah, PayPal is great. Yeah, check out PayPal Domination. That might work for you. All right, y'all. Have a good night. We will see you on the next one. Okay, bye.